Ladies and gentlemen, we are live back down on Bondi Beach. This is the Weekend Wellness Radio Show. This is Liam Zollo, your host. I'm still down here with my beautiful, lovely co-host Sheena Alexandra, and we've got an awesome guest in here, a much-needed guest, Chris Bates, financial wellness. We're going to be chatting about. I need you right now, mate. What are we going to chat? How does, first of all, just on the financial wellness thing, how does that relate, like, is in terms of the wellness side of things? Like, what do you think of financial and wellness? Why is that important to bring those things together, do you think?
Yeah, I think, they're not disconnected. I mean, finances are, whenever you look at surveys or you talk about divorces or you talk about things, that people are worried about, money's, usually the, right up there on the list. It's, we haven't got enough, we've got to pay for these bills, or, we've got these big plans and we haven't taken care of it. So financial stress is, the biggest stress usually for most people out there. So, and stress is a leading indicator for a lot of illnesses. It's a leading indicator for, lots of breakdowns of marriages and all sorts of things. So, finances kind of intertwine with everything, and unfortunately we like to kind of disconnect them from our life and think, we don't need them, we don't want to, and that's kind of the overall picture.
What do you think how do you think that you can get a perfect balance with it? Because some people out there that have they're just addicted to the game of having more money and more things, and that addiction of more, that consumerism versus that need to have that consistent financial, what's the lack of, I don't know, the word I'm looking for is stability. Yeah. There we go, stability. So how do you have that fine line, and how do you have that set? How can you set that up, do you think?
Yeah, I think.
Do you think it's individual, or do you think it's if we're chatting about people in terms of, like, for me, for example, I might be different to Sheena. Do you think it's a broad spectrum of how we can, have stability in our life, or do you think it's an individual thing?
I think there's a lot of research coming out now which around happiness and well-being, and a lot of that research is kind of what we kind of assumed to be correct, and buying material possessions and cars and expensive things isn't giving us happiness.
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification, exactly right.
And you're right, that is a lot of that is consumerism. It's what's been pushed down our throats for so long, and but I think a lot of the younger generation are kind of switching off from that a little bit and thinking, well, I want to buy experiences. I want to, I want to focus on money. I need money to do things rather than I need money to buy things. And I think that's a shift. I think that's, I think the whole making money just to make money, the capitalism isn't really cool anymore. I think it's, I think making money to pursue things that you're passionate about and pursue your purpose, I think that is cool. So I think, I think the connotations around money are probably a lot of negative, and I think if you look at it that way, you're always going to see negative. But if you see it as a positive thing, the richest people in the world nowadays are giving away their money because they know that they can make an impact with money. So that's kind of where I think a lot of it falls down.
So instead of needing to make money to survive, you want to make money to do things that you are passionate about, and things that you bring you happiness.
Exactly.
Is that what you're trying to go about?
Yeah, I think if you make money, there's no point dying with $100 billion in the bank. I think it's I think if you can actually use that money and impact lives, I think that's where the movement with social entrepreneurism and that's what I think the purpose-driven economy and all this is people want to make money so they can do things that they want to pursue in life. And I think when you start looking at it on that side of the coin, you start giving it kind of the respect it deserves, and you think, well, actually, I need to take this serious because I actually want to help people. I actually want to help my family. I actually want to, and so I think that mindset shift starts leading you in a better direction, away from just pursuing money for the sake of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah.
So why do people come to see Chris Bates then?
Yeah, so I've been a planner for 10 years. I think the first 5 years was in the UK. It was all through the GFCs and the credit crisis.
Okay.
My first week as an actual advisor was when Northern Rock Bank in the UK went under. So I
remember that.
Yeah, it was.
I was there. I was living in London at the time.
Yeah, pretty scary run on the bank, which hadn't happened for decades, if not a century. So Yeah, I mean, the first 5 years was all around kind of investment management and a lot of older clients. And then 5 years ago, I joined a new company, and the last 5 years it's all been with younger clients, young families, and really just helping them think through, I guess, their financial decisions. And a lot of that's to do around property. Do they, getting their first home, upgrading, buying an investment property, etc. And I guess a lot of what I'm trying to do is coach them to a better decision, and educate them on what not to do a lot of the time, and mainly help them avoid making a mistake. By doing that, we can set the groundwork up for their later years. And so all my work nowadays is just with young families, really.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Can I ask, what kind of mistakes do you see people making that you try to avoid?
Yeah, I think the property market is, people like to think it's quite simple, but it's actually extremely complex. And what's the worst thing about it is it's completely unregulated. So there's no one watching over, developers or off the plan or house and land or anything can be pushed down your throat, and any real estate or anyone can really say anything to you, and no one's going to come and say, hang on a sec, you shouldn't have said that. So unfortunately we get advice sometimes from places that we maybe aren't got our best interests at heart. That could be reading magazines, it could be property shows, it could be going to a trade show, and anyone wants to tell you that the property market's their property is the best. But unfortunately, not every property can be the best, and there's 10 million properties in Australia, and what makes that property the best, and so I think that's the first thing is we're flooded with too much information, and we've got an absolute obsession with property in Australia, and it's the number one discussed conversation probably.
I mean, the property ladder, Liam, I don't know if you experience this, but I don't feel like I'll ever be able to get onto the property ladder because the prices are just going up and up. I mean, I have lived through this from 2011, since when I moved here. We wanted to get onto the property ladder, and it just keeps going up and up and up, and then stamp duty, and I think I'm just going to be a nomad my whole life. I mean, what do you think about the Sydney property market, especially over the last 5 years? Exponential growth, and do you see any end of this anytime soon?
I mean, long term it can't keep going, so I guess fundamentally there's a social issue that's starting to get created from housing unaffordability, and it's really creating a have and have not society, and that's creating a real pressure on people to really consider what they want to do with their lives. Housing isn't just there to make money. Housing is there for you to have a happy home and to build a family and a loving relationship in, and invite people around and share and things like that. That's getting that question or that stability around having a house for young people is a huge worry for people.
So it's a massive worry because I mean, look, I'm from the eastern suburbs. I'm from Bondi. And now I want to get into the property market now. My mates live around here. I won't be able to buy around here, so then my family won't be able to be around here. I have to go up to, looking at places in Yamba, where I was just living for the last year to make sure I move up there permanently. But then I'm not around my family, my current friendships, the relationships I've built, and my current job. So that's where the pressure starts to come in. What can we tell people in that sense? Because it's a worry. It is a concern.
It's like it's security in a home or happiness with your family, and you are torn.
My parents living in Malabar, and they're alone. Like they're sitting on a good property. That they bought that property for $600,000. It's worth over $2 million or something like that now. So.
Our parents really hit it big. It's our generation X and your generation that I don't know.
So then that makes me think of two things. It's either something, there's got to be another way of doing things, or do you think that our generation is just not working, not willing to do whatever they have to do in order to get what they want, like our parents did? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my parents, my dad, for example, to get us over here, because we're just talking off camera, off the radio show about me coming from England and my lovely heritage of my lovely tan skin that I had. You said I had tan skin, didn't you?
Yes, very beautiful tan skin.
No, I didn't. We're actually saying that I'm actually quite pasty from the... But we're chatting about that, and you know, what comes up for me is that, you know, how do we fix it? You know, how do we fix this? How can I be close to my family, and how can we at the same time, you know, afford to live in the area we want? Do I have to work harder?
Yeah, I think the people sitting, unfortunately, with, you know, when people make their view on things, it's usually coming from a biased place, and we're not very good at kind of seeing the other side of the coin a lot of the time, and so a lot of, you know, people who are on the property market are kind of not probably understanding how difficult it is for young people, and so, you know, they can very easily give advice, you know, just work a bit harder, save a bit harder, you know, you'll get there. We had to do that when we were kids. But the property market now, in terms of actually getting on the deposit you need and the mortgage, etc., it's not really anywhere near the same level as what it was, you know, 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So to say that it's, you know, that we did it and you can do it, isn't really the reality. So over the last few years, I think there's probably a word that's been discussed a lot. You'll probably read about it, something called rent vesting, where people are deciding just to rent where they want to live and investing in other places.
That's a good call.
And that is, it's pretty much what I think a lot of, there's a crossroads that young families come to me and we go, look, we can go left or right. Left, we save, we get enough for a deposit, and then you buy a home, and then you're going to have a big mortgage, and then you're going to have to save to pay off that mortgage. But you're going to have to make a big choice to a decision around that, because that's going to have a huge impact on you. You know, from an income point of view, you're going to have to earn X amount of money to actually pay that mortgage off. So if you want to start a business, or you want to, you work part time, or you want to pursue something else, you're probably not going to have the ability to do that, because you're going to have to pay the mortgage. So I guess that's one option, and that's a great option for someone. You know, there is reasons why that makes a lot of I guess, you know, it's a good decision. The other side of the coin is we don't want to, buy into a life that's, down one direction. We want to kind of have a bit of flexibility, and so they're basically saying, look, I'm not going to buy a home, and they're literally crossing it off the list and saying, look, it's just not something we're going to do, and we're just going to rent for the rest of our lives. And so that's a huge decision, and but I mean, there's a lot of benefits that come with renting as well. So. And that's kind of where people are at.
Yeah, and I think that was a staple, like, goal that everybody needed to buy a house before they became somebody, important, or they reached their life goal. And in fact, sometimes some personalities are better off not sticking in one place for the rest of their life. Because I know, because I'm not a homeowner, I've been able to move from Drummoyne to Coogee to Balmain, across the world from London. So if I had a house, I wouldn't have been able to move all these different... And I think that the lower generation, they're okay with not having a house as a goal, a life goal, and to keep this, like, nomad personality where they will either not buy a car and rent a go-get car and rent a house and like you said, rent to invest, or invest their money elsewhere, but then rent where they want to live, and then that gives them more flexibility as to where they want to live, in the different beaches and types 100%. Of living in Sydney.
So what do you, if the property is not the goal then, as seen as success, what would be the thing that we could, as the goal to see success?
Yeah.
Sorry,
no. I think, everyone, success is, up to you, really. I mean, if you base your success on anything else, then you're probably never going to be happy, because, you're the only one you've got to answer to. So success to you might be, working, 4 days a week and spending lots of time with your family and being extremely healthy and, spending time with friends. And, if that's your version of success, if you base it on that, then, that should be okay. But unfortunately, we do base success on what society thinks is success, and that's the house, that's the car, that's etc.
Good job.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're working 60 hours a week and you're not spending, so I think that success for the younger generation is getting, questioned a lot, and we are starting to say, well, success to me is actually being happy, and what's going to make me happy is doing X, Y, and Z. So, I a lot of times, with client is basically helping them, I guess, discuss that as a topic and actually bring those conversations to the table, because unfortunately they're just on a train track and they're just continuing on this train track because they feel like they have to, but they haven't actually had someone sit down and actually have that conversation with them. Is this really what you want for the next 10 or 20 years? Is there other... And so I'm getting a lot of people who are moving out of Sydney. I've got clients who have moved to Bowral, down to South Coast, up to the Central Coast.
My mate's moving he just got a place yesterday in Bulli.
Yeah,
in Wollongong.
Beautiful.
He wants to buy a place in Bulli, but even that's getting expensive now. He's like, I missed the boat on that one as well.
Miles had my ex-husband had West Pymble, and over like 6 months period, he had to move out because the prices were just increasing, and now he's an hour and a half away, but he's at a place that he can afford, and
it's just funny with the sorry.
And I was going to say that a lot of people that are interested in buying homes aren't really considering post-retirement savings and superannuation, and I think that the issues are going to come in 20 years' time when, I feel like there's a lot of financial crisis happening
in the future.
And these worries of buying a house now are just going to cause more problems in the future because people aren't considering superannuation or retirement.
Yeah, but I think that I see that, and I see things from another point of view that people especially my age, are not relying on the superannuation that they have. They're using other means to have that as their superannuation. Does that make sense? Like buying a property or putting some money in. Like I just put some money into stocks. That's a high risk play, by the way.
No, you're in, man.
That's a gamble, man. I'm like losing money left, right, and centre. I'm like, oh my god! But then gain some money, lose some money. It's like legal. It's gambling.
Yeah.
It's gambling there. So I don't know, have a clue what I'm doing. But I invested in some marijuana.
Oh yeah.
Not legalized.
It's called cannabis. Marijuana is slang.
Sorry, exactly right. Well, I've been growing up with that term, marijuana. Corrective. I'm cannabis dealer now. Legalized cannabis dealer. So
it's a good industry to invest in. But going back to the future and the superannuation, I know I'm not set for retirement, and you have still another 15 years that you have to worry about.
What I was saying is that when people are investing in themselves to grow their own business, and that becomes their superannuation for the future. That's right. That other people might invest in some stocks. Other people might build going back to the business, building a website that helps them have that income stream that's coming through on a permanent basis for the future. So I think that it might not just be reliant on the super. I know superannuation is seeing that now because you can take your super out now and then go invest it in other things. Does that make sense? What's your thoughts on that? I mean, you're the professional.
I think it's smart to be thinking about other things rather than superannuation for your future. I think we all need to be thinking about what's going to happen to our work long term. That's a conversation that I've been kind of bringing up more and more with clients, is because of there's changes. We're all under a kind of threat of artificial intelligence and automation and things like that. And we can't really pretend it's not going to happen. And so a lot of jobs, that our incomes might not be there, and it might not be the future we believe is just going to happen. Our incomes are just going to keep on going up, and our superannuation is going to go up, and our properties are going to go up. It's not all a sure thing. So we need to be thinking about things to protect ourselves, and starting businesses and on the side and pursuing passions and things like that is a very smart move. And I guess around property as well, what's happened over the last 20 or 30 years. We can't just assume that's going to happen over the next 20 or 30 years. So if we are hedging all our bets on property and we're building investment portfolios of just property, you want to make sure that just the property keeps going up. So you've got to be a bit careful of that as well.
So what do you think we could do now? Like me and Sheena are in this position where we don't have a property. Obviously she's doing her thing with it. She's renting in Coogee. She's got her daughter there. And she's trying to build her business. I'm on the other side. I've got a full-time job at Fitness First Market Street as a personal training manager down here. What do you suggest from...
You've got a lovely girlfriend as
lovely
well.
Girlfriend.
You're in a partner
committed relationship. So I've got a lovely
So that
puppy.
makes a difference because you've got 2 people in the household that can either buy a home or contribute.
Exactly right. So you've got 2 different stories. You can pick one of us, you know, me or Sheena. And what would be the first thing you'll do for either one of us to help us out for the future?
Fundamentally, the advice to either of you is probably going to be the same. Firstly, I guess there's a certain amount of foundations that we all need to, have set first, and that's probably getting really clear on what's going to make you happy. Okay, so they're the things that, building a life, designing your life, it is possible to actually put things down on paper and say these are the things that I actually really want to do, and then putting a preference and a priority on those as well. And so that's the first thing, advice to both of you, is to probably think through what is the life you want to build, and then actually putting that down on paper. The next thing is probably the last thing that people want to do is actually start to look at where they're spending money and actually really questioning every single dollar that they do spend. Do they see value in it? And are they getting value from it? So, we've all got things that we like to, do in life, and I guess, sometimes there's a cost to live, unfortunately, and you can't really do anything about it. So, it's just the things that we have to spend to survive, and in Sydney, unfortunately, that's very expensive. And then there's a cost to have a life, and that's probably the thing you can change. And so, if you're looking at the numbers and you're not really saving at all, and a lot of it's just going on cost to live, then you have to kind of see if there's other ways to kind of bring income in, etc. So I guess once you've got your kind of very clear on what you want, and I guess in your kind of your cash flow, and then I guess it's just kind of looking at what you've got and then thinking, can I get this to work a bit better for me? And so, it might be buying a property, it might be, investing in some shares, it might be, starting a business, etc. I guess it's up to each individual, I guess, at that point.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So for me, I want to be able to. I love the idea, and it's very common now, and I haven't figured out a way to do it. Just do what I want, when I want, why I want, how I want.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? In terms of work, like I want to be working, the ability to work from everywhere and anywhere around the world, and not be affected by a destination to work. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Be more affected by the fact that the tools that I have, that I can use that as a business, and then travel around the world doing that. So, what's your suggestion on starting that? How would you do that?
Well, I think one of the negatives of past generations, it's been very difficult for them to start businesses and to start to put an idea into action. I mean, nowadays it's very simple, and so I think but you have to have something to sell. So if it's going to be selling your knowledge, you have to, I guess, invest in building that knowledge, and you have to become the expert in that. So that's something that I'm personally doing is trying to become that expert in that kind of crossover between wealth and well-being and around young families and helping them. So everything I'm reading, everything I'm studying is around that problem. And so I think, over time you become that kind of thought leader, and then you can actually start to sell your services. So you can actually become, and so I think if you want to become, live that life, you've either got to develop something, or you're going to increase your knowledge. So, and with technology, Facebook Live, etc., there's no reason why you can't live anywhere in the world. So
exactly right.
I've got clients who are doing that, who've chucked in the corporate job and are actually just running small businesses, and they're traveling and things like that. So you can definitely do it.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I think that's a common thing. I see that a lot. Maybe because I see a lot of ads on Facebook with it, so maybe it's just because Facebook knows that I like that.
Yeah.
So I'm getting seen. I see that as well. But I feel like a lot of my generation want that ability to have that nomad-y sort of lifestyle, be able to travel and work simultaneously. But you're right. Like in terms of you have to be authority in somewhat of a field to be able to connect with people, to build it. So you're saying it'd be if I was to build a business, unless I build a product, it'd be more of a service-based business that I'd be, like a mentoring or something like that. Is that what or is that?
I imagine maybe you could do a video course for your personal training. You could then run, kind of group workshops and group accountability, and you could have an app and I'm sure there'd be lots of things you could kind of, grow out from there. I think the only reason people would probably take that on though is if they believe that you are the person they will want to get that advice from.
Exactly.
So how they know about you, and I think that's kind of the
create raving fans.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Create raving fans.
How have you created your raving fans?
So I'm quite big on LinkedIn in terms of I'm quite big on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I'm on there every day, so I've got about 12,000 followers on there, and
wow.
I'm always posting content, and it's not so much content all around just property, etc. It's all about things that I'm passionate about and things that I think that are interesting, and I just share them.
Can we ask what is it that you're passionate about? And are they wellness related, or is it anything from sports cars to diets that you're
sport
into?
In general or something as well?
Well, it's not so much sport. It's probably more. It could be architecture. It could be developments. It could be the crossover of well-being. It could be technology coming. It could be around corporations, around ethical and the complexities around capitalism and social entrepreneurship. So it does vary a lot, I try to pick on something that's this is the normal way people think about it, but this is probably probably a off center, but maybe a different way of thinking about things. So that usually creates conversations because it gets people to say, well, actually questions what they're thinking about. So I love it. It's always good fun to kind of have a thought and put it together and actually make a call on things, and this is what I believe on something, and throw it out there.
Yeah. Do you ever get negative publicity or people that send you hate mail?
You do. One of the things on LinkedIn that I love is you can actually block people. So
really?
Yeah. If there's a few crazies out there that just want to, every time you post something, they just want to tear it down. And even if it's kind of like two politicians on either side. One's coming up with a great solution for the world, and then the other politician just completely disagrees with it because it's not his party. So I feel like on LinkedIn there's a lot of people like that who, and so of course. But you've got to encourage that as well because that's how you learn.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great. In terms of knowing as well that you stand for something. And just putting it out there. Why shouldn't you be able to put what you think is out there that you think is right, and then people challenge you on that is I think it's a good thing as well. But if they're doing it just to shoot you down, then block away, mate.
Well, that's right. There is the I love any good discussion, but there's obviously some people who just want to get on there and complain, I guess.
I don't. Maybe I've never been part of the LinkedIn craze. I've got followers on LinkedIn, but I don't even know how to use it that well. I'm just getting savvy now because I just got this job at Fitness First, so they want me to be part of that and do. Just get on there and update my profile and stuff like that. But in terms of getting followers, and I wouldn't know. I think I've got about 500 connections.
You underestimate yourself. You just have to be active on there, and you just need to post, and people are going to like you. You are you're contagious in your personality and in your energy and what you have to say. And it's just a bit dusty. Your account's just a bit dusty. We just need to dust it off and
just dust it off.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely. Cool. And we'll just tag. We'll just tag you.
Because I'm probably in the wrong spot. I'm always on Instagram and Facebook and all these places, and LinkedIn is like another game. And I'm like, which one do I go down? Do I start doing LinkedIn now and not focus on Instagram? That's Gary Vee. Have you heard of Gary Vee?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so that's a Gary Vee.
Liam, you've got some very successful stories with working with clients and bringing fitness into the corporate environment, and I think that people on LinkedIn would definitely benefit from your skill.
Okay.
Client stories is what people love. So I think if I always are learning. So every time I'm with a client, I'm trying to understand. Going all the way back, sometimes also all the way back to childhood, actually understanding their philosophy, their relationships around money, what's influenced them, but then also around their financial decisions. So it would be, I bought this property. Okay, so why did you buy that? Well, I met this person, and what did they say? And really getting to the crux of what actually happened and what made them make that decision and dealing with it, and a lot of the time it's sometimes a bad decision. It's buying an off the plan unit in Brisbane, and I bought that because I went to an accountant and he said I should buy it, etc. So I want to really understand that, and then for them to kind of get their head around it and make a call on it and go, yep, I could have made a better decision, and and I probably should have sought some advice and thought about things a bit better. And so that kind of story is a learning, and and then I guess and how we actually maybe in that case it might be selling a property. So then we I'll kind of package that up and then write a little story on that and post that on LinkedIn, and then all the people who are reading can learn from that. And
absolutely.
so in terms of what you're doing, you could have a little client story around how you actually changed someone and what they were doing that was wrong, and maybe it was sitting at a desk all the time and not which might seem something quite simple to you, but for a lot of other people is they're not really thinking about that. So just sharing little insights from clients is very valuable.
I'll start getting on. You've made me passionate about the LinkedIn now. I'm on
Liam,
LinkedIn. Get me on LinkedIn, guys. Let's start chatting on LinkedIn. Can I be one of the? Can I chat? I won't. Don't block me though.
No.
Don't be a blocker.
That's right. Just want to let you know I'm getting paid from LinkedIn as well. Yeah. Just want to disclose that.
Okay.
So, Chris, anything else that you want to...
I want to chat. I want to say something as well. So, because you're talking about regulation in the property market and how it's, you're talking about one of your clients might have bought off the plan and that was a bad idea, and that comes down to the accountant and stuff like that. That annoys me.
Yeah.
That really, I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hodgie,
yes,
again. Pisses me off massively because it's almost similar to, it's the whole industry. Construction industry as well is the same. There's no regulation on construction industry as well.
Yeah.
So the building part of the game is not regulated. So guys like my dad who had a business went into debt because, straight away because someone else made a bad decision on their part and they just flipped their business or whatever it is and then put a new business into their wife's name or something which is legal and then they start continuing to work, but like someone else has been a fault to that, and then someone buys the property after it's been built from no regulation, and there's no regulation around that because they got dodgy advice around some crappy accountant. So it annoys me.
Yeah, no, it's
really annoying. It's a crappy game.
It is.
It's a crap game to be in then if that's going to be the case. So let's regulate it. How do we regulate it?
Well, I think the challenge is that the first thing is that everyone's in on the property market. Okay, so the banks are in on it, the government's in on it, the state government's in on it, the council's in on it. All the people who are invested in it are on it. So everyone wants the property values to go up, and so the last thing they want to do is come in and regulate the property market, because as it goes up, the country as a whole is growing, and it's exactly so. That's probably the one side of the coin. I think the issue is that unfortunately that fire in London around building standards, that is changing things in the UK, and so they're getting questioned about are these buildings going up and are they quality, and I think the laws around what's going to get built going forward, because we're going to have to build a lot more houses and units in the city. Standards are going to have to improve. So that's probably the thing that's going to happen there. But I mean, generally, unfortunately the property market, it's unfortunately you've kind of got to be, I guess, following advice that isn't conflicted. And so whenever you're looking for advice on property, just make sure the person's giving you the advice isn't coming from a place of wanting to sell you something. And so, you've just got to be extra careful. I don't think waiting for the market to get regulated is probably going to happen. I think you've got to do your own regulation of your own decisions.
Question everything.
Yeah, question everything. But then, if you question everything, you never know who you believe in.
Exactly.
And that's where the regulation comes in. You need some form of regulation for an accountant, for example, to give some advice around that current client because of all his selfish needs to get some money and a cash grab. Well, then he should be regulated. Does that make sense? Is there something like that? How does that work? Because then they come to you and they find a better solution. But what I'm trying to say is that they should be coming to you first instead of someone giving them the advice that's completely wrong for their own selfish benefit.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's two sides to property. A lot of people believe that new property is amazing. You get great depreciation benefits, and it's all nice and shiny. Personally, the view is that it's not a great investment. It's actually older properties that's buying land in good suburbs and good streets, etc. and it takes a while for you to actually understand that on a deeper level. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of professional services businesses do refer to people who sell off the plan and properties like this, not because they probably they don't really understand the full consequences of those decisions and how it all really comes together. And so, you know, sometimes it's innocent, sometimes, you know, the other side of the coin, it is purely driven by money, because, you know, a lot of off the plan and these newer style apartments and things like that pay huge commissions to advisors.
Oh, really?
And so, and that's something you definitely need to be extremely cautious with.
Yeah, and I like the fact that if it is coming regulated a little bit more with the construction in the building side of things to get them up faster, because I know that, I'm not going to name the company, but I was working for a company in the past, and I know that they were building buildings, and they built two high-rise buildings in 8 months next to each other. That's like, I don't know how many stories, like 30 stories, I'm just making it up, like pretty high. Anyway, there's a few hundred, 1,000 units or whatever in each one, I can't remember, but they're building 2 of them in 8 months. So it's like 4 months each, one. Well, they're both going up together, but how does that, like, that can't be good for long term, you know?
I think we are going to start to question whether we want to be building places around kind of the Rosebery, Zetland, you know, just apartment blocks going up with no real architectural kind of,
you know what company I'm talking about then.
I mean, generally speaking, you know, especially with the infrastructure and the housing and the roads and things like that, you know, just putting up more apartments all over the city isn't going to be a great long-term solution. So there is better solutions out there, you know, in terms of you know, more environmentally sustainable housing and you know, cross between social housing and etc. So
what's social housing?
It's unfortunately, there's, you know, we all don't earn, even though we all, you know, work hard, we all don't earn the same amount of income. So, you know, there's certain professions and certain industries that are, you know, as a whole are paid lower and significantly lower than other professions. So it's not because they you know, don't work as hard, or they're not as skillful, or they're not sometimes they're adding more value, but unfortunately they're just earning lower incomes. So a lot of, you know, nurses and you know, and things like that, you know, and teachers and things like that, you know, the salary that they earn isn't significant enough, and unfortunately they can't afford to pay rent. So social housing is helping, you know, parts of society that are, I guess, marginalised and affecting, and it's helping them, I guess, find affordable housing. And so that's a huge, it's a huge problem. You know, if you know, imagine if you're a teacher and you're working in Bondi and you're earning, let's say, $70,000 a year. $70,000 a year in Bondi is probably not enough money, unfortunately.
I think there's a gap in the market for single parents. I think that single parents can come together and buy a house together. I know that sounds really bizarre, but
there's also my mates are some of my mates are talking about this as well. They're in the construction game, and someone else talked to me about this. I can't remember who was chatting to me. I've got to do my research on that one. But they were saying that they buy 4 people are buying houses together. You know, two
co-sharing,
two couples are buying, and I'm not. Look, I feel like this is actually a positive thing as well. But I'm not trying to pigeonhole one race. I promise you. But what I like about a lot of Asian communities, what they do is they come over to Australia together as a family, and there's been stories, and it's great. I love that fact that they're doing this, by the way. I think it's amazing, because they're coming over together in a group of 10. They're buying a house together in a group of 5 to 10, and families and friends and close friends. They live in the house together. They work in the same industry together. They go to work together, they eat together, they sleep together, like in the same house, and then they buy that house together, and they keep doing that until all 10 people have bought a house.
Yeah, right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that, wow, that's a great concept to have, like, you're almost setting up like a team of people, and you're all putting money into this one pool, and then it's for the better purpose of the whole team. You know what I mean? You're working together long term. Yeah. So. And that's why there's a lot of people, you know, coming over to Australia, and that's how they're buying property as well. So I think that's a great way of doing things. Is that something that you will see a lot more of that in the future with that? Do you think, or?
I definitely think that co-share. I mean, there's parts of Europe that it's just the way that people live. They live with friends and they they eat together. They have communal sharing spaces. I think in design, in terms of new kind of buildings, there's a lot more shared space. So we all don't need a kitchen. We've got a big kitchen that we all share and things like that. So I think it is because the land's scarce. We're going to have to use our land, more efficiently, and part of that will be coming up with new designs for housing that, end of the day, we are social creatures and we want to be around other people. So if we, rather than all living in our silo in our one little bedroom studio flat with, and not seeing anyone or ever speaking to anyone, via maybe text, that's the only way. I think we are going to see more shared housing. And the younger generation are used to it. I mean, I've lived in shared housing, for 15 years or something like that. So, I think we're used to that now, and I think that concept will, grow, I guess.
Yeah, I think that should grow. I like that concept as well. It brings that connection back into things.
Yeah, and I don't think it necessarily needs to be married couples that buy houses. I think they can be friends, sisters. It should be open to everyone. That decision should just be open to not just married people. Like you get married and then you're expected to buy a house. And
that whole mentality, I reckon, is gone out the window.
Yeah.
In some, not completely. There's no reason why. I've had friends go down that path, but for a lot of people, that's pretty. It's what goes back to the experience and what you value success. It doesn't matter. You don't have to get married.
Be married, have a child. To find what that.
Exactly right. So,
I think the whole renting issue is the social issue that we're getting forced to consider is do we rent long term? And if we are renting long term, that's fine when you're single. It's fine when you're maybe in a couple. But when you have start to get little ones around you, and around helping them, I guess, grow into the person that you want them to be, and is giving them a lot of stability. And this is where the problems start to come, because it's getting a knock on the door or an email saying you're going to have to move out in 4 weeks isn't really stability for your child when they have to go to a certain school, and especially if it's a public school. There's only a certain zone, and then you've got this pressure to find, and so renting, there's a lot of problems with, and so this is where longer leases are starting to become legislated, and will start coming on the table. I mean, I think it's like 80% of leases are under 12 months or 12 months or less. And so longer leases are starting to become a new norm. And that's good for an investor. So I think that's a conversation that we'll start hearing a lot more of.
Yeah,
because there's also parts of these big high-rise blocks that, some people are managing these buildings and doing the rental for them, and it's in their best interest to flip over people, and get rid of that person within that who's renting, and then go get another person, because they get commission on that. Does that make sense? So I think that's a good idea, that the long-term leasing is a lot better. So then you don't have you have a little bit more passion. You have a little bit more ability to stay in that place for a longer period of time. So not within 6 months, you're not getting that anxiety. But with the scarcity thing, do you think Australia's scarce though? Like, I mean, I reckon in terms of where we want to live is getting scarce, but there's a whole thing in the middle of Australia. We need to build a city like a Vegas or something in the middle of that, like they've done. I reckon. Don't you reckon I should go off there to like a Vegas in Australia?
It's funny you say that. An amazing property blog for people to actually follow is a guy called Pete Warden, actually, and he posted an image yesterday actually on Australia, and it had right in the middle of Australia, basically just had a big kind of line that said useless, and then the other line was around farming ground, and so while we have got a huge, country, a lot of it is not where we would love to live. And unfortunately, our two biggest cities are already, at capacity in terms of our land. We're 50 k's, and we're an hour and a half from the city. So, where we actually want to live and where we're creating jobs, unfortunately, is in the capital cities. I do believe that we need to be coming out with a plan B though, and actually looking at growing hubs outside of our capital cities. So the Wollongongs and the Newcastles and the outside of Melbourne.
Do you think that's what's like? I see Sydney becoming like a New York. Like the boroughs of boroughs in New York. I've never been to New York, but I just know that there's the boroughs like Brooklyn and Manhattan and these areas. So New York's massive because of the boroughs that they have. I see that as like Sydney having that same concept. Like you have the Parramatta as its own borough, and then the south, like the Cronulla areas of borough, the east. It just feels like it's that same feel. Is that correct? Or
yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do. I mean, the Western Sydney Airport is a part of that plan. Is to create a whole economy out there and jobs and etc. So people don't have to commute all the way to the city. And Wollongong and Newcastle, etc. So it's I do believe that we are just going to become one big city, and more interconnected.
Yeah. Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure to sit down and chat with you, Chris. I know that I've learned an absolute abundance of information around my future, which has been awesome. Yeah. I'm getting on LinkedIn. That's a good thing. I'm not going to be abusing people.
I won't block you, I promise.
Yeah, good.
So it's Chris Bates. How can they get in touch with you? What's your website? And
so my business is called Wealthful. So it's wealthful.com.au.
Wealthful.com.au.
Yep, correct. Yeah, probably talking a bit fast. And Chris Bates just on LinkedIn.
Chris Bates.
Yeah,
on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and check out Wealthful. Love to chat to anyone.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an awesome chat.
Oh, we've had a great day as well so far, guys. We're going to actually wrap up the show with this on such a high that we've had. We've had a great couple of guests in the studio. We had Ryan Whippet-Clark in chatting about wellness and his journey of success and his gyms that he's had, and then we've brought in Chris Bates to chat about wellness and finance. So it's been an absolute privilege to sit down with these two influential people within wellness in the different sides of the wellness industry as well. So thank you so much for listening to our show. Do you have any final thoughts, Sheena Alexandra?
I'm not going to be here for the next couple of weeks.
Is that it?
You're going to have to hold the fort down whilst I'm in the US.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to have to get a couple of coffees in here and just start chatting away then.
I'll be back, and I can't wait. I love presenting with you, Liam, and I'm really excited to have this show. And I hope the listeners are happy to hear from us, and we're making a positive difference to the world. Yeah, 100%, and I'm super excited. You go on your journey, and we'll be definitely back in the future. It still stands as the wellness show. I'll even introduce you in, even though you're not here on next Saturday. I'm my lovely co-host who is here in spirit, Sheena Alexandra. I'll still act as if you're here anyway. So that concludes the show. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you guys out there about wellness. We'll speak to you next week. I'll keep the guests close to my chest because it's a surprise, and it'll be a great one because we've got a good couple of guests coming in over the next few weeks. So super excited about the future shows. I'm glad that we sat down with such influential people. So keep tuning in, guys, and tell your friends. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Very good. Nice chatting. Thank you. Oh, we got to run.
Hey man, how you going?
Yeah, not bad, yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Got a beer in hand, what a legend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Close enough.
Jump out of here.
Hope you guys had a good time. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, right.